Friends, welcome to month 10 of the epic block of the month by Charisma Horton, Little Pink Barn Designs. We are going to start using up a bunch of those parts and pieces we've been making the last few months to make these awesome multicolor color wheel stars. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hello and welcome to the epic block of the month by Charisma Horton Designs, Little Pink Barn. My name is Rob Appell from Stitchin Heaven. And yes, we are still using the Benartex new and newer worlds that I designed, and Charisma put this awesome 12-month 96 by 96 inch square quilt together so that we could all enjoy the way the cool geometrics play together and her awesome designs work as well. Now month 10 is going to be a lot of fun, but we've got a lot of things on the table to discuss. So do bear with me. I'm going to try to stay focused and organized, but I want to tell you, as I was going back through some of my notes today, because I've made some of these parts and pieces a few months ago or a few weeks ago, getting ready for the big shoot to have all of this information available for you all year long. Long story short is, I got a little confused when I was prepping out for today's video, and that's partly because when we look at our instructions that are going to now start on page 17, after we make a couple more of these little triangle units here, there's some very specific color coding that's going to go on again. And here's why, folks. That color coding is going to then lend to all of these awesome color wheels that are in the center of these stars. So I don't know if you can see, here's another one here, and then these stars are going to travel throughout. But when you look at the pattern cover, you count 8 of these stars that kind of look like they've got the black and white around them. But if you look carefully in your instructions, some of them you'll only be making 2 blocks, and some of them you'll be making 4 blocks. And I got a little confused again when I went to review. So I just want to point out that we're also using a couple of these, the 2 blockers with months 5 and months 9 to form those same color wheels. Let me see if I can do it real quick here without messing up the set too much. But yeah, I think it's going to do something like this, and then this, and then this, and this as I read the color wheel. So remember, your like fabrics and colors touch in these positions. That'll be one of our checks later on to make sure we did build all of our blocks correctly. These parts around the outside are all the random squares we've been using. And let's see, those are going to come from month 6. And we're going to also bring in some month 8s that have some randomness to it. But we also want to make sure we honor that really cool color wheel that's built behind the stars. And so as a reminder, if you start to like, wow, I feel like I see where this is going, but then you get a little confused as I did, don't forget, some of our stars we're making this month are going to be built with parts from other months, and some of them, like the one with the orange units you see, we're going to build all 4 this month. And it will tell you you're going to make 2 or 4 in your instructions. So let me just set these aside so we can actually start today's instructions. And one of the things we are going to do shortly after we build those units together, and we've built them before, we're going to build them the same today, is again, you see the very specific color pieces that are requested, and you see I only have my 3 piles out, but my orange and yellow or pink and pieces and stuff have already gone up in here into that project, and the other ones I've already been pre-building because I always like to build as many as possible before I shoot the video so that I can have great examples. So with that said, like I said, page 17 of our instructions, I'm just going to set these now slightly aside. And we're going to grab our larger squares, and we're going to have all of our colors and our whites, and I'm going to draw that line, go right sides together. And you know it, folks, we're going to make a couple of half square triangles to get started. Double checking the iron, and again, with these half square triangles, I can't use the edge guide that I like, so I just slide it out of the way, make sure my needle down is engaged for today, and away we go. Maybe I should have say, away we sew. You'll be chain piecing these again because you have multiple blocks to do. I'm just doing the one in the specific color that follows the instructions today because I think it's actually going to make it least confusing. And that's why I wanted to show how they all come together later on so you can do your color count to make sure that you're on track with our block of the month. Okay, divide those out. We are going to press to the colored squares for these. And then those are going to be joined on top of our black squares that were cut following our instructions, also on that page 17. Okay, so those are going to join in like that. And then what I want to do as they get together organized, I'm going to draw the line on this side to confirm that my lines are truly traveling across or perpendicular. So now our new line, as we form, will go ahead and cross over those seams. Line that one up to do the same. There we go. And then let's go ahead and stitch these as well. Chain piece them when you can. Separate, rotate, do it again. And again, we're going to cut them, separate them, and we'll press them. And then I've got a trick I want to show you. Okay. So now I'm going to press into the black fabric. And you notice I grabbed 2 squares at once, or the 2 same triangles. We're going to be using these throughout on these opposite corners. So what we really want is, when you bring it back together, is that you have opposite parts. So those 2 were from the same unit, and we're going to trim those down to 4 1/2, I believe. Yep, 4 1/2. So now I'm going to also stack those, and you'll notice they're on opposite color sides, which is really great, and that's what I want. Do the same over here. And you can notice in these piles, I've already done this in multiples and multiples so that I can continue to build out the blocks. This month, we're actually going to be making 24 blocks. And as I was starting to say, 2 of some color combinations, 4 of other color combinations. And it's clearly stated in the instructions. My problem was I started looking at my blocks before I went back and started reading and organizing where I had really left off. Sound like anyone else we know at home? All right. So anyways, again, opposites. And now that those are grouped like that, I like to lay them with the blacks. Fabrics all there together. And now I'm just going to set them ready to rock and roll as I get into the next steps. Okay. So all of that information, pay great attention to which colors you're using. And when it's talking about the month 4, part 1, orange, yellow, or purple, green, they're talking about like these. There's oops, did I actually say purple? Sorry, blue, purple, right? And then the orange, yellow is the one on the wall, as I was pointing. So they're referring to the way those colors work up there. Now, on to page 18, this is going to be really fun. We're going to go through and we're going to start grabbing parts and pieces from our month 6 and our month 8. And the way I like to really do this to begin with is I'm going to start with my unit that I need here as my color code center, right? And that's one of the ones that has 4 colors. Okay, now as we reorganize, this is a part that could get a little tricky for some. So I just want to make sure I'm pointing out the way this reads, especially because the parts we just made are not going to necessarily finish looking like this diagram. I've probably already got that one in that pile over there. So what we're going to do here, it says step 4 yellow units. So that was step 4. Here are the yellow units we just made, right? With our opposites of each. Now it says what I want to do is I want to pair from month 4, right? Those were the pieces we had set aside and brought over. That's where I need one of my aqua and my green, which is this. And then I also need one of my pink and my red, which is this. So we're not going to follow this diagram, but we're going to follow all of the sewing and layout units you can see right here. And like I was starting to say, each of these step-by-steps will show you exactly or tell you exactly what you need, but I do recommend you go through all of those bullet points and set them individually, maybe clip or pin them together so that you stay organized. Now, we're also going to use some of our wonderful random pieces from our month 6 and our month 8. And I also like to kind of pre-prep these a little bit too. So you might want to work on 3 or 4 blocks at a time to try to keep your color randoms as random as colored they can be. Okay, now with that said, let's just go ahead and build this one here. This will be a different block. So following that diagram, it's going to be real easy, lower corner, and yeah, we probably could trim those off, but let's just keep moving forward right now where I've got my black and my white out here, and I've got my colored units there. Now this one I want you to pay careful attention to as well. The black is going to rotate in, the colored, or right now our yellow, is on the outside edges, and then our white is kind of on this interior. Because when we look at our diagram again, we're actually bringing in month 8 as these fill-in spaces. So let's just grab a couple of month 8s here, and I want them to be somewhat different. Okay, great. So that's different, that's different, that's different. And you see how that starts to form kind of a straight line. Now when we go over here to our month 6 piles, as I drop these in, I just want to make sure that the like fabrics don't touch. So far, so good. And I also don't want to use the same exact squares when possible. Oh, that's a fun one. Let's grab that one up there. And then there it is. So again, you may want to do 3 or 4 of the layouts at a time so that you are able to keep it as random and you don't get to the point where you have a bunch of these that are all the 1 or 2 different combinations. Keep it looking really fun and random. Now again, folks, it's just a 9 patch from here, so we're just going to go ahead and start sewing these. Each of these squares, if you wanted to take the time, you can see I'm getting a little sloppy, but of course those should all be 4 1/2s. And then I'm just going to take a moment and set my edge guide, and then we can begin stitching these together. I'll make sure my iron's hot for when I need it. And then I'm going to fold that one over again, like before, just doing them in groups, but always coming back to double check to make sure I don't get disorganized. Even though I said this month has been a challenge for me. And I like the way these units lock together. You can just kind of nestle both those outer seams with those triangles. Feels so good. Okay, and that was probably my bottom row, so I'm going to press to what I think is the outside, but I think I'm wrong because that rotates in. No, that's right. And then again, before you start stitching anything, because one of these might have rotated, make sure you have everything so that when it comes back together, you'll be happy. I will be. Let's keep stitching. Okay, go ahead and again press. If you can stay organized to nest your seams, good idea. Let's see what kind of disaster I've created for myself here by spinning those blocks around on the table. Oh, I might have pulled it off. And we are getting into the home stretch on this block, and we are really getting into the home stretch on this project. I don't want to blow it for us all next month, but we're going to do a very similar construction using the rest of our random pieces, but we're going to be building some other design parts as well. So another really fun sewing month next month, but not nearly as much. So this month, let me remind myself, I believe it's 24. Yeah, we have 24 of these to make. And these are the ones you're gonna really wanna stay organized and color coded around that center star, like I was saying in the beginning. But once you get that all dialed in, it's gonna be great. And then next month will be our final stitching month, and we'll finish out in month 12 with putting it all together, which will be great. But you wanna make sure that you have everything you need by that point set up so that you can finish with all of us that have been enjoying this epic block of the month by Charisma Horton Designs, using the Benartex fabrics designed by myself, Rob Appell from Stitchin Heaven. New and newer worlds, we're calling them. I think they're basics, but they're pretty cool. Use them in lots of your projects out there. And just as a quick reminder, folks, while you're staying organized this month, keep your eyes on the wonderful color wheel that forms in that interior center block. Don't panic. Remember, some of the colors you're only making 2 and some of them you're only making 4 because the way that some of them are going to join in with our other blocks down the road. Like I said, it's super fun, but you've got some sewing to do, so I'm going to let you get at it. Thanks again for joining me here today on month number 10, Epic Block of the Month. I'll see you next month, like I said, for another great sewing month, and we're getting pretty close to the end, folks. Thanks again for joining me. We'll see you next time.